Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Radar, where we keep the Falcons on your radar. Thank you for joining me, Stan Parker, for another episode. Let's have a ballin' show. Joining me tonight is Todd Brooks yet again. He was so good of a guest, we had him on twice. Todd, how are you doing tonight? How are you?
Personally, I'm good, but I'm really upset after the Falcons game yesterday, brother. I'm glad we're taping it on day 2 instead of yesterday because I would have been furious.
So I have this self-imposed radio ban / article ban whenever it's a devastating loss, which there's been a lot of those in the last 6 years, and beyond really, but the last 6 years in particular, after a devastating loss or a frustrating loss, maybe not every loss, but the frustrating ones, I won't listen to any sports talk radio. I won't listen to any podcast. I won't read any articles. And it usually takes me till Wednesday to turn the page and then start preparing for the next Sunday or actually listening and reading articles. So this is this is good for me. It'll be very therapeutic. But yeah, like you said, if we recorded this thing yesterday, or even my wife was telling me that while everybody's still hot, go ahead and record Sunday night. So it's probably best to record Sunday night. So
yeah, I mean I would agree. You get more of a real representation then.
Right, you have some time to sleep on it, and have some time to actually think. And I haven't gone back and broke down plays like I usually do, but I mean I've got a pretty good sense of what transpired and what should have happened and what actually did happen. So
right.
Oh man. So let's just start these questions off with a bang. Why is this defense so bad, Todd? What can you put your finger on one thing? Because in the last 2 years, let's just set this up. The last 2 or 3 years, they've been in the bottom 5 in yards allowed and in points allowed. So they've been currently they're 32 in points allowed and number 31 or something in yards allowed. So I mean they've given up 78 points in 2 games. So can you put your finger on one thing?
I can't put my finger on one thing, and we kind of went through some of this the last time I was a guest on your show. I do think the draft's a big part of it. I don't think we've drafted the way that we needed to draft on that side of the ball. But then some of the play calling, I also would question. I mean, Dan Quinn is supposed to be this expert defensive coordinator. That's the reason we got him from Seattle all those years ago, 5 years ago, when he was still with the Seattle Seahawks. And believe me, he's still running the defense. I mean, we can say Raheem Morris is running that defense all we want to, but Dan Quinn is making most of the calls, and he has concentrated this defense. He's really built it more around defensive backs than anything else.
Right.
And it's not working. But I will say this: there's one good thing I can say about the defense yesterday. Man, they had it going early on. I mean, the pass rush was working, and then it just stopped working all of a sudden. And I don't know if it was because the Cowboys made good adjustments to it or because, maybe we just got lucky on a few plays, but it just did not work after the first quarter.
Right. I think, like you said, they had it going on early, just specifically that game. They had it going on early. Aluakon was active around the ball, punching the ball out, had 3 fumbles, actually had 4 fumbles, but one of them got returned or reversed. Falcons just looked like the pass rush was there. The defense was playing good. The defensive backs were playing good. So like you said, what happened there? I think Aluakon actually went out. I think we had an injury. Tack got hurt. So I mean, there's injuries you can point to there, but that's not the reason why you give up all those points. I mean, we can't blame those specific. You know what I'm saying? You can't. That's why is this defense so bad? So I think I am the same thing with you, and I think it has to do with defensive philosophy, not being able to change at halftime. I think hurts. Coaching. I think for me it's coaching. So the Falcons give up so many points in the second half because the other guys go into the locker rooms hey man, their offense is really good. We ought to change what we're doing. And our locker room, I don't know what kind of speech Dan Quinn gives them, but I don't know if it's that because they come out and do the same thing and they get, they give up 30 points in the second half. So I don't know exactly what it would be like specifically what why they're so bad.
Yeah, the tipping point for the defense was really after that Falcons Philadelphia game to open the season back in 2018, that Thursday night game that we opened up with.
Mm-hmm.
And Keanu Neal got hurt in that game. And then after that, they just haven't been the same. And they were actually a very formidable defense before that. But they just have not been able to get back. And it's gotten a little bit worse over time. Certainly yesterday, I think like I said, it's a combination of things. But yesterday, I actually thought that our offense with our running game did enough to win that game.
Right, for sure.
They won the possession battle. We outpossessed Dallas 33 minutes and 48 seconds to 26 minutes and 12 seconds. So that was one of the keys to victory. I mean, that's what I thought we really needed to do to win. But our offense, sort of disappeared a little bit in the second half, too. We only scored 10 points. They outscored us 30-10 in the second half. And, I mean, that's ultimately what did it. We couldn't sustain drives. And the times we did score, we score a little bit fast, too. And I do think that hurts the defense overall as well when you're, like, trying to just throw the ball down the field. You might go 3 and out, or you score 2 or 3 plays. And then momentum's just going crazy for Dallas on the other end. Amari Cooper just catching that uncontested pass downfield.
All right, so here it is right here. With that Julio catch, man, he's had a couple of those. In my just no looking up off the cuff here, spitting from the hip. He's had a couple where it's hit him in the hands where it's so good that, I mean, he just drops. He had one against the Panthers a couple years back, and then him not catching that ball, really took the wind out of the sails. And from that point, everybody was tight. Here's our superstar, and he's messing up, and nobody. So if Matt Ryan was on the other end of that thing, and he didn't catch the ball, or Matt Ryan was the one catching the ball, Matt Ryan would have got killed. Nobody has said not one word about Julio Jones. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, so Matt Ryan gets held to a different standard than so if Matt Ryan's supposed to catch that ball, they'd be looking for. They're going to be drafting his replacement this year. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, you're right. It's interesting, on another subject, how people feel about Matt Ryan. Anyway, I'm a member.
He's so divisive.
I'm a member of another sports talk group on Facebook, and it's interesting how I see, even though the defense performed at a very poor level yesterday, Matt Ryan catches all the blame. It's just the knowledge base for some fans isn't there to see that our defense is not performing at a high level, and you're going to blame Matt Ryan for everything. Yet, he's the best quarterback in Falcons history, hands down, clearly.
And there's no but there. I mean, it's unequivocal. I mean, if you want to start bringing names up about who's better than Matt Ryan in Falcons history, we can go toe to toe. But like you said, it wasn't Matt's fault yesterday. So now obviously mistakes are made and all that crap, and but overall, it was not Matt's fault. So why is the defense so bad? I think in a couple of reasons is I think defensive philosophy, and I think the Falcons have a pretty bad track record of overrating the talent that they have.
Yes,
of paying guys they have no business paying. So when Trufant comes available to get whatever dollars that he gets, because he's next in line according to the market, and they back up the Brinks truck, and then next year he hurt, can't play. There's Devontae Freeman. Well, he's offensive lineman. I mean, offensive line, offensive side of the ball. Excuse me. But defensively, I think there's a trend to overrate what you have available. So I think that a little bit of overrated / drafting, and I fall into that as well. I get so pumped up and I read about these guys and we got this guy, got that guy, and then at the end of the day you got to go play NFL people, other NFL teams. So I think the defensive culture is bad. I think the defensive like like not culture, but like just the whole all of it. I just the decision making and just it's all wrapped into one. So that's kind of my take on why is the defense so bad. You can't put it to one person. Like pass rush, they haven't had a pass. We've chronicled this many a times. No
Yes,
pass
for
rush.
sure.
I mean, thin at linebacker, so many safeties, and what I'm saying. Like they got 3 starting caliber safeties, and it's like why? Anyway, so
I mean, it
that's
just
my
seems like it seems like a bad dream because really the last 2 head coaches that the Falcons have had, they've had Mike Smith and they've had Dan Quinn. Well, both of those guys were defensive guys. I mean, you don't
yeah
have an offensive minded coach from either one of those guys. They both
right
have coached defense their entire careers. But Smith really only had that one team that was pretty good on defense. 2012, he had John Abraham sitting there in the middle, and
right
and Quinn really hasn't had any defense that was performing at an elite level. He had that the 2017 team that they were pretty decent on defense. Once we had
right.
Keanu Neal, you could see they were good, but they still weren't, one of the
Well,
best defenses in the NFL. They were kind of trending in that direction until Neal got hurt. And then it was just, whoa, the bottom fell out. What happened?
well, it's very easy to play. I mean, I'm not saying easy. It's more advantageous knowing that your offense is going to score 33 points a game. Like,
Is it though?
it,
Is it though?
I mean, I would. Well, okay, you're right. On one side of the coin, it is. It's like, hey, we gave up 17 points, but hey, they're going to score 33. But then, like this time around, I mean, you could sit in a locker room right now and say, hey, man, we gave up one, but hey, these boys out here, they're going to score 40. They score 39 points and lose. So,
yes, and let me tell you an interesting statistic from yesterday. This tells you how bad it's gotten with the Atlanta Falcons defense. So, as of yesterday, NFL teams were 444-0 since 1933 when scoring at least 39 points with 0 turnovers, which is what the Falcons had yesterday. Guess what the record is now? It's 444-1. And the Falcons are on the wrong side
of history.
Again, yes.
Again, they're the butt end of the joke. It is so hard to be a Falcons fan right now. We are a punchline in the NFL right now. So I mean, it is what it is. They're not clutch, and it's so disheartening and so frustrating to hear all the sayings that Dan Quinn has, and then hearing him say, "Oh, we're mad as hell," on last week about undisciplined things happening and all that stuff, and just to hear him do a press conference, he'll crush a press conference. He's awesome. He needs to be a PR person. He needs to be in front of a microphone somewhere. I'm not so sure about a head coach because he's always had some clock management issues, but this right here, this personnel stuff is, I don't know, man.
Dan Quinn historically has made bad decisions in games anyway. I can go all the way back to that very first season that he was the head coach.
Oh, yeah.
And the Falcons matched up against the 49ers that year. Do you remember that? And they had made it all the way down to the 49ers won. It was 4th and goal, and there was about 2 minutes and 46 seconds left in the game. Yeah. And Dan Quinn ends up kicking a field goal, and he sends Matt Bryant out to kick the field goal, but they needed to get a touchdown in order to be able to win the game or even to take the lead. And they kicked the field goal, and then they kicked the ball back to the 49ers, and the 49ers just ate the clock, and that was end of game.
And then nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, 4th and goal on the 1, you got to expect your team to be able to make it. I thought that was one of the biggest blunders that he has made as a head coach, and it continued yesterday, and it's not getting any better.
Like taking timeouts when you don't need to, and then blowing timeouts when you there's no reason. Like I don't understand it. And that whole So anyway, so on to the second question. If you're Mr. Blank, do you let Quinn finish the season?
Okay, so
because I think we've all agreed that Falcons fan. I don't know. I haven't talked to you, except for through text message. So, I mean, before we get to that, I mean, are you down with letting Quinn? What are your thoughts on relieving Quinn anyway.
Okay, so
go ahead.
I can look at it from two different perspectives. So the first perspective is what's going on in Arthur Blank's mind right now. I think, as an owner, sure, he has the right to make any decision that he wants to. If he wants Quinn to stay for the whole season, if he's really that close to Quinn, do it. And I'm personally not a big advocate of letting a head coach go in the middle of the season anyway. Typically, I kind of look at it from the angle of what does it really accomplish. However, in this case, I want him to let Quinn go before the season's over, because if he doesn't, then I'm afraid that Quinn's going to go on a winning streak at the end of the season and a bunch of meaningless games again, and then he's going to retain Dan Quinn. Or worse, he retains Thomas Dimitroff, or he retains one of the two, and I think they both need to go out the door. Send them out today.
Okay, so we are the exact same person on that. So if Mr. Blank, would you let Quinn finish the season? My answer is no. We got plenty of head coach experience. Name an interim, Raheem Morris, jump in, take the reins, and get Quinn out of there, and then we'll start finding a new coach. And I am not a big fan of letting them go in the middle of the season. Just echoing what you're saying, it really doesn't accomplish much, and it kind of throws everything kind of in turmoil. But because things are so bad, and I think he's lost. I don't know if he's lost the locker room. This team specifically is more professional than other teams in the past, in my opinion, a little more mature. But like losing, the term like losing the locker room. You don't have a lot of divas and a lot of outspoken stuff. So I think he's really close to losing the locker room because all of his little sayings just aren't winning football games right now. So I would say yes, Mr. Blank needs to go ahead and pull the trigger and let Quinn go. I mean, he's not going to make it to the bye week. I mean, let's just be real, because they got the Bears, and if the Bears walk all over them and they do something horrendous again, the Falcons are finding new ways to lose. If they find a new way to lose on a 10-second runoff at the end of the game and penalty, or like something stupid like that, I think you'll hear about it in the news conference real quick. But yeah, I'm totally on your side there. Go ahead, pull the trigger, let Raheem Morris or let Ulbrich run it as a linebacker coach or whatever. Who cares? I don't care who runs it. Todd, they call you up. I don't care. But I don't think. Yeah, I think it's time for a change.
Yes, for sure.
So, and then all right. So going back to what you said earlier was, Dan Quinn has has a history of winning 7 in a row and saving his job. So what would it take of Quinn and the Falcons for you to say, you know what, I think we should keep Quinn another year? What would have to happen?
Well, I mean, hindsight's 2020. For me personally, nothing can happen for him to save his job. I mean, I don't care if he goes out.
Nothing. 14-0 from this point, whatever the math is on that. Was it? 14-0 from here on out. Get to the Super Bowl. Like any best case scenario at all. And Dan Quinn's still got to go.
Real. I mean, that's not going to happen anyway. I mean, I don't see the Falcons even doing that. Their defense is so bad and so atrocious. There's no way they would do that. The best they could probably hope for right now, they look like. I think last podcast I said that their win total, the ceiling was going to be 11 wins, but I think the ceiling now is probably 3 or 4. It's not good. It's not good.
No, that's not good at all, Todd.
That's a ceiling.
Yeah, that's a ceiling. That is so atrocious. So, like, for me, what would it take for you not to want to fire Quinn? Todd, we're the same person. Nothing. I've seen enough. I've seen 6 years of it. I've seen winning in garbage time. I've seen winning games just win that whole 7-2 or whatever they did at the second half of the season. I don't know. I've seen enough, and it's time for a change. It's time for the city just to turn it over and just start over and try to get back to the Super Bowl. And
right. Well, the problem with those games though is that winning streak all happened at the end of the year in both seasons. Like, really, we've watched the same season play out over the last 2 Falcons seasons. The start wasn't quite as slow 2 years ago. I think the Falcons got off to a 1-4 start. They got to 500 later in the season. They were 4-4, and then they were 4-8 suddenly. So it kind of ended the same way. You ended on a winning streak. Last year we were 1-7 to begin the season, I believe, and then we won all those games at the end of the year. And ultimately, it really hurt us more than anything else because the Falcons didn't get prime draft picks because of what happened at the end of both of those seasons. And Arthur Blank,
Not only did they not
and Arthur Blank,
Good,
he could make the decision to keep Dan Quinn. He can make that decision all day long, but he's going to have to deal with the wrath of the fans at this point because I realize we don't have any fans in the stadium yet, but in a world next year where there's fans will not show up for that. They have no desire to show up with another year of Dan Quinn as the head coach. There's just no way.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point of Arthur Blank having to answer to that, have to answer, to the fans. And man, like the guys on the radio that interview Quinn every week or whatever, I would hate, I wouldn't say hate, but that would be very uncomfortable to sit across the table from Dan and be like, all right, Dan, what happened on the onside kick? Like, do you boys not know the rules of football? Like, what? I don't understand. Like, Pee-wee, like that, the rules don't change. Like, get on the ball, see the ball, get the ball. Like, I don't get it. So, that's mind-boggling. Okay, so we're gonna turn the page. We're gonna put that one in the books. That was a horrendous loss. That was bad coaching, bad defense, pretty good offense. Calvin Ridley's a star. Julio Jones had feet for hands for one play. He looks like he's hurt. Yeah. In my fantasy team, I don't know who had him, but he laid an egg, which is good for me.
Yeah, speaking of fantasy teams, I feel like this past weekend that I lost twice because the Falcons lost their game, but then in fantasy football, my opponent was Dak Prescott, and he rolled me for about 45.
Insult the injury. Well, here's the deal. I got Matt Ryan, my starting quarterback. I'm just waiting for Tua to step in and with the Miami Dolphins, I've stashed Tua away. But Matt Ryan was my quarterback, and hey, he ain't throw no picks, so I'm good. I always look at his numbers and I was like, all right, well, he's gonna get at least one of them. He threw that garbage pick last weekend. I was like, man, just not. I know it's like garbage time, and we're just trying to heave it to try to get some points before the halftime. But could you stop throwing picks?
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, so, still affects your fantasy points.
It still affects my fantasy points. I need for him to be a little more considerate. A couple positives for the game. Let's just run through some positives. Alukum looked good. Defense looked good early. Okay, early. Pass rush was there. What's his name gets hurt. Tat gets hurt with a groin. It's not really the same. But Gary goes out with a strained ACL, not a torn ACL. It's a strained ACL at right tackle. And then I think Carpenter steps in. No. Gono steps in on that side. So, the offensive line played decent. That's what I'm trying to get at, mainly. Offensive line played decent. Had a couple sacks in that, Ryan, one or two, but nothing like Todd Gurley ended up having 21 carries for 70 some odd yards. You got?
I think he had 65 yards when I looked this morning.
Wait, say it again. Sorry.
I think he had about 65 yards. I don't know that for sure. Let me see if I can pull him up here. Yeah. I can let you know for sure. The Falcons, I believe, had a total of 112 yards rushing, which, they are not really, they're running the ball decently, better than last year, but they also aren't having any explosive running plays either. You know what I'm saying?
Todd Gurley definitely looks old.
Yes.
I'm just saying, what I'm saying? Isn't because there's a couple plays in there and you're like, okay, it's fixing to happen. And then he gets hit and he goes down. So, and I don't blame him at all. And that's not me, poo-pooing on Todd Gurley. I just, he's not as explosive as he was. Now, he's effective. I was telling my wife yesterday, at least he's getting contact at the line and falling forward for 3 yards. We haven't had that in a while. That's how deprived the Falcons have been back there, is that I am excited about Todd Gurley falling forward. That's how so 21 carries, 61 yards, 2.9 average.
Yes, 21 carries for 61 yards. And the average for the running game in general is it's only 3.3 yards per carry. So that's not very good.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible. So,
Yeah.
hey, Zeke only had 89 yards, held him under 200 yards, right? Huh?
Yeah, but Dak Prescott, I mean, look, I don't want to. We went over this last time,
When,
so I feel like I have to call you out. I feel like I have to.
go for it, my
But,
friend.
okay, so, okay, we understand that he was playing against the Atlanta Falcons defense. I'm pretty confident right now that I could probably go out there and throw for 500 yards
I
myself.
believe in you, Todd. I think you can do it.
More than likely, I could. But Dak Prescott still, if you had for fantasy football yesterday, you were the true winner of the weekend. So
Yeah.
congratulations. But,
Congratulations.
I mean, yeah,
30.
he had his fumbles early on. Even if he's not this talented, you say he's not very. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think that Dallas now, after winning a game like that, even though it was against the Falcons, that momentum has got to be sky high now, and
Yeah.
they may come out. They may only lose 2 more games the rest of the season. They may have an incredible regular season. So, this could really be something that escalates them to the top of the NFC, and especially their own division, because their own division is not very good.
I was going to say, I don't think their division is very good anyway.
No, it's not. Philadelphia, I don't know what's going on with them, but they are not good. Right. But I mean, he had a great game, and you have to give him kudos. He had those turnovers early. He came out, and he was just lights out in the second half and did everything he needed to do to lead his team back to victory.
I give him credit for playing against the terrible defense and doing what he's supposed to do.
Yes, a terrible defense. I'm glad you said that, though.
I give him credit
defense
against a terrible defense, and he did what he was supposed to do. So, there it is. There it is. Okay. So those are some positives. We got to throw some positivity in here because I don't like just getting here and just spitting hot fire like you do. So I got to throw some positivity in there. So now we're going to flip the page in the last. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time because I'll probably do another podcast later on the week. But just a first blush, just whatever research you've done. I haven't done much research, but how do you beat the Bears? What do you see from the Bears, and what do you think about this matchup?
Well, I think our opportunities on offense on the field are probably not going to be as many as we've had the last 2 weekends. Chicago runs the ball pretty well. I think they have a good chance to win the time of possession this week. I still think they're going to eat our defense alive. I just don't see a lot of hope to win this game. I mean, you have to think about the mental part of the game as well. Okay. Yeah, the Falcons were riding high after that first quarter. They were up in the game. They had a 29-10 halftime lead. It probably all went to their head. But to have a team come back against you like that and have the Cowboys come back and they outscore you 30-10, and then you have just a blunder of a play and an onside kick that the guys are just staring there and they're watching, which, I counted 5 when I went back and looked at the tape. There was 5 guys right there around the ball. I just don't see how you could, as a defense, have any confidence to go out there and stop it. So I think the interesting thing about this game is even though the defense is going to be bad, but can they get anything out of them at all, or are they just going to shut it down for the season and quit on their coach and escalate his firing from the Atlanta Falcons?
All right, so that's a good point. Are they going to quit on this defense? Mitch Trubisky got threw 2 picks yesterday, and he got sacked 4 times, and he had 4 rushes, and let's see, 190 yards, 18 of 28 completions. So I think the opportunity is to get some sacks on Mr. Trubisky and make him cough up the ball, but they're rushing the ball well. Like you said, it's just not in a good place mentally right now with the Falcons. So, but if they can get to I'm a broken record, and I'm sorry. But if they can disrupt Mr. Trubisky and try to be opportunistic, they can start the turnaround. But they've got to play for their coach. They got to keep going. They don't need to. If they quit on Dan Quinn, this season's going to get real long, and these podcasts are going to get real colorful. I'm just saying. So,
yeah.
And so but the Bears' defense is really good. So we'll see. We'll see how all this shakes out.
That's the other part. They're averaging right around 140 yards a game rushing. They average 4.7 yards per carry. And
which is
then
yeah,
they don't pass the ball near as good as either team that we've played the last 2 weeks. But just having that extra running, and they're more physical, I would say, than what Dallas is
yeah,
and what Seattle is. And the Falcons, they're not physical at all. They're just a real finesse team, great at skill positions on offense, but that's really about all they have. And the kicking game's been good. I'll
yeah.
give them that.
Hey,
Positives.
Young Wei Koo's on my fantasy team. Shout out.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so get after Mitchell Trubisky, establish the run. Make them. Just get your 3 yards and whatever, and let's just outscore them 41-40. So,
Ooh. Yeah, but that's 50-50 ball, Stan. That's the biggest positive we could find from this team this year. 50-50 ball. If they have possession at the end, maybe they'll win.
yeah. All right.
But I don't know. I'm not really all over the Falcons on the special teams blunder like some people. Yes, it was terrible, but I also recognize that if your defense hadn't given up all those points, that you wouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, Falcons fans, don't lose heart. Hopefully, with Arthur Blank makes a decision soon. Maybe we get some fresh eyes in here, some fresh talent. I don't know. I'm just trying to give the people hope, man. Because my last podcast I gave was there's hope, and that was like at midnight on the day of the game. I was feeling myself, and I put out a podcast.
Well, Stan, there is hope. There is hope in 2021.
Hey, are we tanking for Trevor? What's going on here?
2021. Yeah, I mean, why not? I kind of was on that bandwagon last year. Maybe we should just start the rebuilding process. Matt Ryan is 35, 36. He's somewhere in that neighborhood now. So, I mean, the guy is in his prime now. He doesn't have that many years left. So we might need to start thinking about that. We probably could get some pieces for Matt Ryan, get Trevor Lawrence, and get a new offensive guy here. Give me
just start the whole thing over.
Yeah. Before we end this podcast, Stan, give me a name. Who would you like to be the Falcons' new head coach? Let's look towards 2021.
I like the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Bieniemy. I like him. And then there's another offensive coordinator that they said that might be available. I think the Titans offensive coordinator might be, but I'm looking for offensive coordinators at this point. But I would probably go with the Bieniemy. I can't remember his name. But yeah, that's who my pick would be, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, I have two names.
Okay,
one's an offensive guy, one's a defensive guy. I don't think either one's particularly realistic. But for offense, Lincoln Riley, head coach at Oklahoma.
Yo, what an insane pick that would be. Yeah, talk about just excitement that would bring to the that would be awesome.
Because he could come in, he could get a good defensive coordinator, some good defensive coaches, and he's innovative on offense. It's not all this vanilla play calling you get on offense anyway, like we talked about. So I think that could be a big improvement. Another guy, this is just kind of a wish list. He hasn't coached in a really long time, but when he was a head coach, he was phenomenal, in my opinion. Bill Cowher, and he's a defensive guy.
Hey, that would be. Hey, they had a chance to get Gary Kubiak, and then I feel like that was kind of like I kind of wanted Gary Kubiak, but for the offensive coordinator. But yeah, Bill Cowher would be excellent. All right, Todd, this was fun, man, and we'll do it again probably later on this week if you're available. But
sure.
I appreciate you coming on, man, and enjoy the show, and thanks for coming on and expounding your big brain on the Falcons, brother. What else you got to say to the people?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to have to say the old cliche, go Falcons, Super Bowl champs, because I don't think that's going to happen. But hopefully we can pick up some of these pieces and at least rebound this week and look somewhat decent.
That's what I want to see.
So let's not give up 40 points. Let's not give up 30. I'm shooting for small goals. If we could just give up 21 points, I'd be happy at this point.
There we go. Well, we're shooting for small goals. And thank you, Todd. Thank you, everybody, for joining Rise Up Radar for this week's episode. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button and follow us on Twitter at Rise Up Radar and Facebook. Give us a like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your pods. And until next time, fellas, rise up.